Big up, guys. Welcome to this The Buzz, obviously my debate show. Actually back at last after last week. When obviously I couldn't do this really as I was away. I didn't really want to do that many streams while I was away, but I ended up doing at least a couple or so while I was away. But this was one of these I had to put on the back burner, obviously. Would have had so many to do. But obviously, I'm back now. I've been back, obviously, since last week, really. The start of this week, I've been back and really going back onto all this again. And it's good to get back to it all. Got so much to cover, and certainly with the cricket as well. There's plenty to do on there. And of course, the preview for the Wolves game this Saturday, which really we should be winning. They are bottom, but then we said that about West Ham. We should be beating them because they're struggling. But look what happened there. And we're going to touch on that subject later on anyway. Going to talk about it a bit then. But anyway, I have got my guest here, of course. Manny's been patiently waiting there. I'm going to bring him on. And obviously, before we go into any of the football subjects, there will be just this quick tribute I'm going to do to John Amos, another black American actor, talented actor we've lost. I know this is really football and sport and stuff, but we do like to pay tribute to people that have gone, that have lost, and great actors, because of course James Earl Jones passed away, of course, as well, very recently, and we lost another great black American actor, really talented actor, superb, been in loads of films, notably Coming to America and Die Hard 2 and Roots, of course. So obviously I will do that, and I'll just bring Manny on first though, and I've got a comment, but big up to you, Manny.
Yeah, Steve, big up to you, and can you hear me, Steve?
Yeah, just about. You're breaking up a little bit, but I can hear you.
Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Well, first, okay, brilliant. So I'm going to have to make sure that I cut off all background noise. That means no fan, but big up to you. Thank you for hosting the stream, and thank you for mentioning John Amos. Memory I do have of him was show Good Times, that comedy show, which actually featured a young Janet Jackson as one of his children. And obviously he was the patriarch of that family, and that was a quite popular show back in the day, which spoke about the trials and tribulations of an African-American family, a rather honest portrayal. Definitely a fine actor, and he will be missed. And my condolences go out to his family. And this hasn't really been a good year, not a good year for actors. We also lost one of our own in Dame, sadly passed away. A very an absolute legend of an actress, it must be said.
Yeah.
And it's as if we lose some people these days that remind us of our childhood, and it's a reminder of how, a certain inalienable truth is that we will grow old, and we have to, find a way to come to terms with that and accept. And we can reminisce about happier times in our youth, but hopefully those memories will make us happy as we move forward, rather than leave us with any regrets. So, to the families of John Amos and Dame Maggie Smith and several other actors we've lost, John Aston as well from the Beverly Hills Cop film series.
Yeah.
Condolences go out to their families.
Yeah, it's funny enough, I just see that quite recently, that done another Beverly Hills Cop thing on Netflix, a newer one, a recent Beverly Hills Cop, and I watched that, and he was in it, of course, as well. So looks obviously didn't look. You remember from years ago when he was in it, and he looked fairly biggish, a big guy, sort of portly. you know. In a new one, he looks really old and thin and gaunt, you know, didn't look the same guy, you know. But, you know, obviously he must have had an illness or something, struggling or whatever. And I only found out about that the other day, of course, and you obviously just mentioned it there. But yeah, and that was really sad as well. Yeah, not great. As we know, nobody lives forever. We none of us live forever. But it is so sad when we lose these people that we followed for so many years. You know, stars and people we were used to seeing growing up, of course, as well. It is really sad. But obviously life carries on, I'm afraid, and we all have to carry on. Get back on that conveyor belt, I guess, and carry on with it. But yeah, it is really sad. As I say, this John Amos, I thought was a great actor. As you say, Coming to America and Die Hard 2. I always remember him in that. You know, great. I love that film, Die Hard 2. Of course, not as great as the first one. The first one is the best, no doubt about it. But obviously, with him in there, and yeah, brilliant. Got a couple of comments. Obviously, one from Eugene. It'll be up to you, my friend. I will be on your stream later, mate. I'm definitely coming on today. I'm definitely available to come on. So I will be there, my friend, and see you on there later. And Daz Reynolds, big up, Mr. B. Hope you are well. Yeah, be up to you, Daz. Haven't seen you in here for a while. Thanks for coming in. Brilliant. Yeah, I'll just read this one quickly though, Manny, and then we'll carry on anyway. We'll carry on obviously with the sport, obviously the main subjects on the weekend and everything. Okay, mate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, John Amos, best known for his roles in the 1977 miniseries Roots and Die Hard 2, has died at the age of 84. Great innings, 84. Really good. He died on 21st of August, natural causes, according to a statement from his publicist, Belinda Foster. But the news was only released on Tuesday. Amos also played James Evans Sr. on Good Times, which featured one of television's first black two-parent families. That show was the closest depiction in reality to life as an African-American family living in those circumstances as it could be. Amos told Time magazine in 2021. Among Amos' film credits were Let's Do It Again with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier, Coming to America with Eddie Murphy, and Die Hard 2. Such was the impact of Good Times that musicians Alicia Keys, Rick Ross, and the Wu-Tang Clan all name-checked Amos or his character in their lyrics. Many fans consider him their TV father. His son, Kelly Christopher Amos, said in a statement, he lived a good life. His legacy will live on in his outstanding works in television and film as an actor. My father loved working as an actor throughout his entire life. He was my dad, my best friend, and my hero. Oh, that's nice. Really nice. Amos was fired from Good Times after becoming critical of the show's white writing staff, creating storylines that he felt were inauthentic to the black characters. There were several examples where I said, no, you don't do these things. It's anathema to black society. I'll be the expert on that if you don't mind, he told Time magazine. And it got confrontational and heated enough that ultimately my being killed off the show was the best solution for everybody concerned, myself included. Amos' character was killed in a car accident. His co-star Jimmy Walker said of the row, if the decision had been up to me, I would have preferred that John stay and the show remain more of an ensemble. Nobody wanted me up front all the time, including me. Amos was born on 27th of December 1939 in Newark, New Jersey, and was the son of a mechanic. He graduated from Colorado State University with a sociology degree and played on the school's football team. Before pursuing acting, he moved to New York and was a social worker at the Vera Institute of Justice, working with defendants at the Brooklyn House of Detention. He had a brief professional football career playing in various minor leagues. Oh, there you go. He had quite a life there, Manny. Done quite a lot in his life.
It was a wonderful life, and I don't mean. Yeah, absolutely. You know, he will definitely be missed, and memories will remain. Everything just comes, running back. But we move on and we continue, and we never lose. We never stop thinking about them, and their memory helps us move forward. Simple as that.
Yeah, R.I.P. John, and as we say, our prayers go out to your family and friends and everyone else at this sad time. But yeah. Anyway, we move on. I'll see with another horrible thing, sickening thing that happened yesterday. Robin Lenormand suffered a traumatic brain injury with subdural hematoma, bleeding caused by a burst blood vessel near the brain after head clash with Real Madrid's Aurelien Tchouameni. Time to discuss. Horrible. Sickening what I heard of this yesterday. And obviously I'll bring the article up. What do you make of this, Manny?
Well, I remember waking up in the morning. I think it was about somewhere close to 6 o'clock UK time when I woke up. That is, of course, during the summer now. Yeah. And reading this and thinking to myself, what an absolutely horrible thing for the poor chap to have gone through. And it's another reminder that professional sport, you may think that these athletes are out there, showing off their skills, earning some good money, living the life of Riley and living the dream. But no, they're very dangerous sports. These players under, very harsh physical training to make sure that they are ready to withstand all of this. And head injuries in contact sports like football and rugby can happen anytime. And you are putting yourself at a very grave risk of doing some severe damage to your head, which is a very precious commodity. Even in cricket as well, we cannot allow ourselves to forget about the tragic passing of Phil Hughes, who died before what would have been his 28th birthday, 3 days before, was hit in the head by Sean Abbott bouncer in a domestic game, and sadly he never recovered. And this will definitely provide more proof that the health and safety of athletes will always be paramount, and it is imperative that more protective measures are in fact adopted. But if you have the article, please do read it, and I will zip my lip.
Yeah, sure, mate. Yeah, I'll read it now. This is by Sam Drury for BBC, of course. Atletico Madrid defender Robin Lenormand suffered a traumatic brain injury after a collision late on in Sunday's Madrid derby. The 27-year-old Spain international clashed heads with Real Madrid's Aurelien Tchouameni in stoppage time at the 1-1 draw at the Metropolitano. He received treatment on the pitch, and the club confirmed he has since undergone a series of tests and was assessed by specialists. It has been determined that he suffered a traumatic brain injury with subdural hematoma, bleeding caused by a burst blood vessel near the brain. Horrible, terrible. Lenormand will now follow the guidelines set out in the protocol established for this type of trauma, Atletico said, before he can return to action. The centre-back was part of the Spain side that won Euro 2024 and started the final against England in Berlin. He joined Atletico from fellow La Liga side Real Sociedad in the summer. It's only a short one article there. And it was horrible to hear about this. Of course, yeah, you remember him playing for Spain. Well, he's actually, of course, he's French, actually, isn't he? But he played for Spain in the Euros, Euro 2024. So, yeah, from winning that to having this, it's quite different, to say the least. One happy and a bad one.
Sickening. It's yeah.
Sorry.
It's just horrible, mate. It's horrible. And as you say, he is, of course, a Frenchman. Hold on a minute, please. Let me come out.
Go, mate. Sorry, guys, we're just waiting for Manny to come back in here. Yeah, it's horrible, this, and this happens to obviously other players, and it just shows how dangerous it is in football. You know, especially head collisions, any sort of head collision, and you know, and that's why now games are stopped when there's any sort of head collision. They have to stop the game, and they have to treat the players. Have to bring the people on to check them out, and sometimes they generally have to go off and come back on. You know, if they're fine to carry on, that is. You know, I think pretty much now they shouldn't carry on, especially if there's any form, you know, of anything serious. And bring Manny back. You okay, mate? Can you hear? Can I hear? Can we hear you this time? You there, mate?
Hopefully you can hear me now, Steve.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now, Steve?
Yeah, can hear you, mate. Yeah.
Okay, as I was saying, right. So as I was saying before, being forced off, as it were, it was a horrible injury, and we might end up having to face a situation as in the American version of football.
Yeah.
Players might end up wearing helmets just to protect their heads, and you know, something might need to be all of this. I mean, do the players now need to? Would it now be a good idea to actually outlaw the practice of heading in football? Because it's bad enough in rugby, or the egg chasing, as you call it, where you know, during scrums, obviously the you know, front row forwards, the second row, the back row, they're the ones who pretty much face the brunt of the pressure when they all go, you know, packing down and sort of facing each other, as it were. And they're the ones who pretty much put themselves at risk of severe injury. And, you know, especially for one of our best ever rugby union players, Jason Leonard, the first prop forward to earn 100 caps for his nation. And always and forever our first Englishman to earn 100 caps, although he's no longer the cap leader. He's forever a world champion, though. Nobody can take that away from him. You wonder how he was able to survive for so long and not get any real severe injuries. And sometimes how you play and how you train play a big part in that. But in football as well, if we're going to see more and more people, you know, suffering these types of injuries, which can affect their, you know, mental state later on, is it really worth it? And should we perhaps consider outlawing heading in the game? I don't know. I really don't know. And I do worry about the future of the game, given what's going on these days.
Well, the thing is as well, Manny, you hear these old players from years gone by, the 70s, whatever, 60s, 70s, 80s and all that, of having brain problems after, you know, a lot heading of the ball. Obviously, they were heading really harder balls at that time, you know, a lot heavier. footballs than they are now. But that's not all to do with it. Obviously, it's like head collisions. If you're heading someone else, you actually heading someone else or whatever, especially the back of the head or whatever. It is hard, is serious, because obviously some parts of the head are a little bit thinner, weaker, vulnerable. So you have to be really careful. But there's not a lot you can do. It is a tough game. I mean, okay, it's not as tough as rugby, because the rugby is a proper man's game. The way they are, more physical in that. I think in football they con a lot of things. Actors, whatever. They're hardly ever really actually caught or elbowed or kicked or whatever. And we know they play act a lot, Manny, and they get away with it all. I think they should be booked or sent off, half of them that do that, to be honest with you. But then when there's something serious like this does actually happen, the head injuries, it is serious. And, the game is actually stopped, in case there's any sort of form of concussion or anything like that with the player. So they have to obviously treat the player and in most cases take them off on a stretcher. So, it is a serious thing. And, as you say that, I mean, I think in youth, kids, football, whatever, they try to outlaw it as much. They don't head it that much, only occasionally or something. They've tried to do that in the kids thing. Whether it catch on, in the adult senior, I don't know, because you have to head it a lot. There's a lot of occasions you still have to head the ball, and I don't know what they're going to do about that. I mean, can some wear these skull caps like famously Petr Cech wore, as you remember, when he played for Arsenal? After that sickening thing with Stephen Hunt, which I remember, of course, the ex-Brentford player, kneed him in the head. Terrible. And I think he should have been done for that and kicked out of the game, to be honest, Stephen Hunt. And that surname rhymes with a certain thing that I can't mention on here, but he was one of them for doing that, I think. And, it's terrible. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, I do vaguely remember the Stephen Hunt Petr Cech incident. That of course was when Cech was playing for Chelsea long before joining Arsenal. I do think it's fair to say that since that injury, ever since then, Petr Cech would wear sort of a skull cap the remainder of his career, even after joining Arsenal, of course. I don't know if Hunt's I don't quite remember if Hunt's attack on Cech was deliberate or not. I'd like to think it wasn't. And obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I do remember that disgusting tackle by Martin Taylor on Eduardo da Silva, which definitely was even worse. I would like to think that with Hunt, going for the ball, the momentum took him forward. And I also do remember that the reserve goalkeeper, Carlo Cudicini, got injured in that game, which meant that for a period of time, Enrique Hilario was, Chelsea's goalkeeper. And it certainly was far from hilarious. It definitely was not a laughing matter. But another reminder that, when you play a game like this, if you end up being brave, sometimes it can really, really hurt you. So it's sad. It shouldn't really have to come down to this, but the reality is, as you have mentioned, that football is a contact game, and people love it as a contact sport. These are what we call occupational hazards, and we can either continue to be really angry with it, or we just have to, find a way to deal with it and remind people that yes, these are the risks you face when playing football, but then in a way, this is sort of why people love it. There's nothing in life without risk.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think I agree with that. I think there are worse things where all this happens. Of course, boxing, another one where you can't escape being hit on the head. You can't escape that. So with worse things we all remember the things with what's the name, Watson, with Chris Eubank, all that. That was horrible when he obviously suffered the brain damage and all that. Couldn't walk for a long time or talk or anything, although they did make, a fair good recovery from it. Not fully, of course, not back to normal, but a lot better than he would have been. He was almost like a vegetable, really, wasn't he, in a way? But, it is horrible. As you say, it's all. Every sport contains some element of risk, and this is one of them. And as I say, the older players, the former footballers from yesteryear, as we know, a lot of them have passed away because of a brain problem, heading the ball. Quite a lot recently and everything. So. It's horrible, mate. And, what can we do? I mean, there's not a lot. I mean, you can wear these skull caps or something like that, but will it totally protect your head? I don't think so. Or the thing that obviously Jimenez, and we'll get onto him in a little while, actually, what he wears, does that totally protect him? I don't know. So what can be done? As you say, all you can do is stop heading the ball, but you can't do that, really. There's no way you can stop doing that.
I suppose you can't. And for that reason, when you engage in the egg chasing, and I think I'm always going to continue to say that because in as much as I love the sport and watching it whenever I can, I know that you're not a big fan of it. So we'll call it the egg chasing from now on. Yeah. And especially when you talk about the egg chasing, you have to have the scrums, you have to pack down. That's an important part of the game, and you can't just eliminate that under any circumstance.
Mm. But that is a really physical game. You see plenty of things go on, elbows, fully fledged punches and all that. Big physicality there, big guys, of course, they're big blokes. We all know that, and it's really physical game. And so much goes on, and half of those in football wouldn't know how to deal with it because they play act most of the time. So if they went near a rugby player, they'd shit themselves, I think. So
I'm glad you acknowledged that. Those are real hard men.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Is there a real solution to this, Manny? I don't know. As you said, you stop heading it, but you can't. And I think that goes without saying in the children's football, kids, whatever, youth growing up, that they try to stop them heading the ball as much and things like that. Which is a good thing, but once you get into an adult and playing this, it's a different matter. So it can't be done, really. So I don't know what to suggest, mate. I don't know, really.
Well, that is something we'll try and discuss in the coming, weeks and months, of course. And the sad part is that when it comes time to discuss all of this, there'll be even more instances of people getting hit in the head. I could actually give you some other options of body parts that can be used to try and control the ball, but that's a topic for another day. We do have a lot to discuss, and also this particular proposal I'm talking about is a little bit humorous in a way, but also a little bit, I wouldn't say vulgar, but it's something that I'll talk to you about at the end of the stream. But we got a lot to discuss, yeah?
Yeah, sure, mate. Yeah, definitely. And we're going to move on to this subject of certain Raul Jimenez, who's got a new lease of life, it seems, at Fulham and scoring once again, which is glad to see. I'm happy to see this, that he's back and firing again, aren't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anyone who is able to, walk through the valley of the shadow of death and come out the other side, it has to be celebrated. United TV, Rich, big up to you, mate. And obviously, we'll talk a bit about Manchester United later on, try and keep it respectful. But Mr. Senor Jimenez is the man of the moment. Article.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously Fulham's Raul. Oh, well, I'll just read this. What I put here first, the banner. Fulham's Raul Jimenez, a man reborn 4 years on from a skull fracture back in November 2020. Jimenez had emergency surgery while playing for Wolves at the time, clashing with David Luiz, who you remember, whether you remember him fondly, I don't know. But Arsenal, of course. Then of Arsenal, obviously.
It's mixed. Decidedly mixed, but go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I thought so, mate. But but anyway, back to this article, and hold on a minute. There we go. Fulham's Raul Jimenez, a man reborn 4 years on from horror head injury. Raul Alonso Jimenez Rodriguez. That's quite a mouthful. You wouldn't get that on the back of his shirt, would you? 33 was born twice. The first on May the 5th, 1991, when a doctor helped to take him out of the womb of his mother, Martha, who received him in her arms in tears with her husband, Raul. So he's Raul Jr. And the second on November the 29th, 2020, when an entire country which had enshrined him as its greatest footballer at the time was paralysed to see him lying unconscious and bloodied on the pitch of the Emirates Stadium. The Mexican footballer, a youth product of Club America, was already an idol on Mexican soil in the last quarter of 2020, but also for a small English town of just over 260,000 people. Raul Jimenez knows that for the rest of his life, he will not pay a bill for a meal in a restaurant in Wolves, Wolverhampton, where his face is synonymous with happiness. In that engineering-heavy, aerospace labour-rich town, there is also a landscape of quiet life with its Elizabethan architecture and a stadium where a team has positioned itself as a regular Premier League outfit. Wolverhampton, far from the pressures of the limelight of the Premier League's big teams, offered him an ideal setting similar to the one Jimenez found at Benfica in Portugal after an inconsequential year in which he succumbed to the demands of Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid. And although some of the Mexican fans and press tried to make the move to Wolves look like a step backwards after just over 2 good years at Benfica, the striker understood that he had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to prove, if anyone had any doubts, that he could be the elite 9 he had always dreamed of being. Wolverhampton is place in the world. On August 11, 2018, Jimenez took to the pitch at Molineux Stadium for Wolves' first Premier League game of the 2018-19 season. Seeing himself dressed in yellow, as he did for so many years of his childhood at Club America, was a good omen on that eagerly awaited debut for the Mexican, who would end up thrilling the crowd after scoring in a 2-2 draw. From that day on, Raul was loved by a fervent fan base that found in his goals a pretext to smile and to dream. Suddenly, Wolves won 3 consecutive games, and the people of that beautiful English town began to believe they could compete for something beyond survival, and in large part because of the Mexican, who soon began to hear songs in his honour. So a month after Jimenez became Wolves' highest scoring player in a single season in the club's history, the board quickly exercised its option to buy him and forked out €30 million, 31.6 million, for a 4-year contract, the most expensive purchase the club had made at the time. Wolves qualified for the Europa League, and the Mexican was named by the fans as their player of the season. The following campaign would be one of resounding consolidation in England for a Real who had not had the participation he would have hoped for at the 2018 World Cup in Russia. With a thirst for glory, Jimenez ended up establishing himself as a total idol for Wolverhampton, who experienced a dream European season. In that tiny picturesque place, the chants of the fans were heard with fervour as they enjoyed his goals in the Europa League, where they competed all the way to the quarterfinals. With 27 goals in memorable matches, the Mexican was voted by the crowd and his teammates as the year's best player. In that context, Raul came into the 2020-21 season as a focal point, and with a team that was beginning to build around his virtues. On his 100th game with Wolves, the Mexican signed a 4-year contract extension, nipping rumours of a possible transfer in the bud. The future was looking brighter and brighter until that fateful 29th of November, when Wolverhampton visited mighty Arsenal. A vital turning point. Raul has said in several newspaper interviews that he has little recollection of what happened that night. The Mexican striker has no record of the sequence that shocked an entire country. The Querétaro native has no recollection of that corner 5 minutes into the match, nor of how he leapt to contest the ball in search of a goal, and of the sharp collision between his head and the head of Brazilian David Luiz. Nor does he remember the moment when he lay limp on the ground, with blood pouring from his nose and no sign of life. At the same time as the medical teams from both clubs rushed in to attend to him, amid the commotion of teammates and opponents who saw that there was not the slightest response from him, and from the Brazilian centre-back, who was also bleeding but conscious. Within minutes, the news went viral in Mexico. It was the longest 8 minutes of Raul's life. 8 minutes in which he was treated with the utmost care to be immobilised before he could be put on a stretcher with an artificial respirator thing. Yeah, I knew immediately that it was a serious injury, said Matt Perry, head of the Wolves medical team, who accompanied Jimenez throughout and stayed with him when the Mexican was admitted to a London hospital emergency room, where the severity of what had happened was confirmed: a skull fracture. When he regained consciousness, the first thing Raul did was to communicate with his wife, Daniela. It was in her face that the Mexican observed, still without understanding what he was doing lying in a hospital bed, that something serious had happened. Shortly afterwards, listening to the doctors, relatives and colleagues and watching the images, he understood that he had been close to losing his life. It was a moment of uncertainty and deep introspection. Amid his desire to play in the 2022 World Cup in Russia, Raul realised that he needed more than ever to cling to his loved ones and to football, which had been his refuge since he was a child. And although in mid-December, 3 weeks after the event, he visited the team's training session and told his coach, Nuno Espirito Santo, that he was ready to return, the Mexican had to navigate a slow and complicated rehabilitation process. It took months of Martha being by her son's side, helping him to read and knit to improve his neurological side, before Raul returned to the gym and training, where he became untouchable so as not to cause a relapse, until the Mexican was able to return to play a football match in July 2021 with special protection on his head. 2 months later, in a match against Southampton at St Mary's Stadium, he scored again. That scream, 300 days after what happened on the Arsenal pitch, was an emotional release. And yet, for months, Raul was never the same. Although in his statements he said he felt confident and sure of continuing to compete at the highest level, his performances were far from those that made him a star for the club. And although his performance was not the same, his people did not abandon him and consoled him. When he had to leave, the Mexican received a standing ovation. His next destination was Fulham, And as at Wolverhampton, Raul found another reason to smile. With more games under his belt since the injury, and with full confidence from the club, the Mexican was back to his best. The start of this campaign has been better than expected. His goals have meant important points for the team, and he has established himself as a starter. With that hunger for glory intact and the effort of a voracious rehabilitation, his passion returned. On 28th of September, Raul was once again on the score sheet. His scream was deafening. It was his 100th goal in Europe, placing him on a par with the legacy of Chicharito and Hugo Sanchez, an achievement worthy of his ability and resilience. The resilience he showed in his recovery. In the time when few were with him, in the time when he was sure he was going to come back, to make it clear to everyone that being born again will always be worth it. Very great article, that, Manny. Lovely article. It's got some of his stats there for Fulham and Mexico, of course. Oh, man, he's gone. Oh, well. Rich, yeah, we're very poor at the moment. Yeah, you are, mate. Obviously, we'll be talking about that a bit later on. Right, Manny says, oh, yeah, shit, I've got to bring him back on. Manny's back. Oh, well, hold on a minute. I'll bring him in. Oh, you're back, Manny. I don't know if you heard a lot of that article about Real Jimenez.
I did, Steve, and it was a wonderful read, and I want to thank you for bringing that up. And obviously, you know, when a person is reborn, given a second chance of life, it's always, in many ways, a wonderful thing. And you know, it is kind of sad in a way that when he still now I'm hearing an echo. I was just saying, it is kind of sad in a way that when he left Wolves, it was as though, you know, his time over there was cut short, because he had, in fact, become a huge fan favourite. And obviously having to move all the way down to London from the Black Country, the Midlands, as it were, he had to obviously rediscover himself and really start to prove himself all over again. But he seems to be happier now. I know that he will get a warm reception whenever he goes back to Molineux. People love him at too, and he's back and happy and scoring well. You know, it's wonderful to see. But this is also another reminder, in sport, as in life, nothing can be taken for granted, and you really, really must take care of yourself, take care of your health, and just. It's also wonderful to see the wonderful advancements in medical treatment, which enabled Jimenez to come back even stronger, as it were. So, yeah, delighted for him, and got themselves a real baller. Now, I'm not looking forward to facing him and his club, be it at Cottage or the Emirates.
Yeah, he's really on fire at the moment, isn't he? I mean, it's great to see him back, though, to his original form. You know, before he got the head injury, and obviously he was at Wolves. And he's actually the sort of player probably Wolves could do with right now, and they got rid of him.
Ironic, but what can you do? Such is football, and you know, life has to move on.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think that's a lovely story that he's come back and you know, pretty much back to almost normal. I mean, he wears that, obviously, that protector thing on his head. I don't know whether it does really do a proper job, though, because it looks fairly sort of light, maybe flimsy. I don't know. But I suppose it does protect the certain part, I guess, where he was hit, where it hit before. Was it David Luiz's head, obviously? But yeah, I suppose it does kind of do a job, and it's obviously not worrying him in his performances. He's going out there and producing it all the time at the moment, so it's good to see.
Definitely.
These are obviously some of his stats here, obviously for Fulham and Mexico. I mean, a lot of people were saying, well, why Mexico brought him back? You know, I mean, obviously he did play there. It says there in last year, I think a little bit. But you know, why haven't they brought him back full time, Mexico? Because I mean, I don't know exactly how they are performing at the moment. Mexico, I haven't really checked on them, but of course, as we know, they were doing really well for a while, getting into World Cups and certain tournaments, of course, and the Copa America and all that. They're a strong force in that, weren't they? I don't really know exactly what they're doing at the moment or who they've got really in the team. For a long while, they had lots of obviously Chicharito, Hernandez. I don't know if he's still there. I mean, I'm sure he must have retired, hasn't he? But I don't know. I don't know for sure.
Hernandez. Hernandez has long since left the club, I do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was talking about Mexico, Manny. If he still plays for them, I don't know. I don't know really. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah, they were a big force, a strong force in the world for a while, weren't they, Mexico? I don't know if they are now though. I think they've fallen behind a bit now. I think gone backwards a bit, but I guess with this man now, I think they would do a lot better, you know, up front. So, you know, he's quality. I mean, you know, at one stage, I think we would have loved to get him. You know, I think they say he was 31 something million, so not a major amount. You know, where we could have, I mean, we'd not long bought a striker that was 35 million. Okay, he got injured. But, you know, this guy, we could have done with somebody like him, you know. Probably his replacement for Tony, really. So, I mean, the thing is, I know he's, what did they say, he's 33, I think. But, you know, it doesn't matter the age, does it? If you still got it, you're still performing, what does it matter? As far as I'm concerned.
Agree completely. And, you know, this is another reminder that, you know, age, as you say, it is nothing but a number. And I think the older people get, the more people realize that, you know, life is precious and you can't afford to waste anything, waste any time doing nothing. And now you get an idea. I realize this is going to be a very sort of almost narcissistic thing to say, but this is one of the reasons why I do in the gym, lifting very heavy weights, because I want to make the most of whatever strength I have left. And ironically, you know, I'm a lot stronger now than at any point in time in my 20s or 30s. So, yeah, whenever you have an opportunity to live or a second chance of life, you've got to take it. And coming back after a fall will always be, you know, so will always be the most satisfying, beautiful thing.
But I think the thing is, he just shows that he's come back well and he's come back from it. From
he has absolutely.
You know, he was going down a dark tunnel, but he's come back out and seen the light again out of the tunnel. And hopefully this Robin Lenormand will as well. I hope he comes back.
Yes, I hope so too. And this is another reminder of you know, how even in the most desperate of circumstances, hope always springs eternal. And I also want to say to you, at the risk of edifying you, I want to say thank you for choosing these topics. You picked some really terrific topics to talk about today.
Yeah, I thought so, mate, because I think there was quite a lot of incidents that were worth talking about, discussing, and obviously these are obviously serious ones, and it's have to bring them, to everyone's. I'm sure everyone's attention. A lot of people do know about it all, but we have to sort of like bring this up, and obviously, it just proves most sports are quite dangerous. Some of them, you just got to be so careful. And this has happened again in football. So, let's just hope Robin Lenormand comes back from that, and our thoughts are with him and his family and everything at the moment, at this time, and hope he comes back. Because obviously he had that happy moment, great moment. Manny's gone in. Anyway, let's move on. Anyway, we'll move on to talking about Cole Palmer, who's really is on hot form at the moment. He's so hot, he's melting himself at the moment. Not ice cold, but really hot on fire, I should say, at the moment. Boiling hot, you could say. So obviously I'll bring the article up and we'll talk about it some more. And the great record he broke on the weekend. 4 goals in 10 minutes. Incredible. And Manny's back again. And I'll bring him back in again. Mr. T, you're back with us once again. Good to see. You there, mate?
Yes, I am, sir. Hopefully you can hear me.
That's good, mate. That's good. I'm glad you're back. Mr. T, brilliant. Because obviously we moved on to the next subject, and that's Cole Palmer, who's really in hot form at the moment, and so hot he's melting himself. No longer ice cold, but boiling hot. Now, Cole Palmer in ice cold form after 4 goals in 10 minutes for Chelsea against Brighton in 4-2 win. Can he be key for Chelsea winning a trophy? And also England as Nations League and qualifiers coming. What do you think, Manny?
Wonderful question, and I realise now, and hopefully Hanno's not watching this in the live chat, although I'm sure he might watch it on playback. Obviously, for some reason, he is quite giddy about the start that Chelsea have had this season under Enzo Maresca. But we also have to remind him that after the only big opposition they've played has been Manchester City, and they lost, and they haven't really played any big opposition since. But Brighton have always been a bit of a banana skin of sorts, and so that was an impressive win. And scoring those 4 goals obviously would have really, solidified his legend among Chelsea fans and Manchester City fans in lieu of their struggles right now. You can't necessarily say struggles, but they are second in the league at the moment when they should be top, and they'll be thinking get away. And the only question I have is, in the position where he prefers playing, which is sort of as the right cuts in on his left foot, we already seem to have that in Bukayo Saka. And so because Bukayo Saka plays very frequently for both Arsenal and England, we don't see enough of Palmer, on the pitch. We see him coming off the bench, obviously. But, when Palmer comes on, he does a good job. I would like to see, Palmer lend some strong competition to Bukayo Saka. But maybe there are some attributes that Saka has that Palmer doesn't have, which means that Saka starts every single game and Palmer can come on as a super sub and try and add some gloss. But he's just so technically gifted. He's got all the shots he could take, free kicks. He is every bit as good as Saka is, in some ways even better. But don't tell that to any Arsenal fans. They cannot tolerate slander against their star boy, you see.
Yeah. And, it's funny you mentioned Saka. We'll be talking about him in a little while as well. So about Arsenal, of course. Our favourite, your favourite subject in a way, I suppose, sometimes. But anyway, we'll obviously talk about all that. And obviously, though, this is looking good for England as well, isn't it? We need this kind of player. He actually looked good in the Euro, when he came into that. As we know, he only played a certain few minutes at times. When I thought he probably should have been on from the start or whatever, I thought he was incredible when he came on. Added extra to our attack when we needed it. It just shows what quality this guy has, and still only 22. It's amazing,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's not just feeling 22, as Taylor Swift would say. He's playing 22. He's enjoying 22. And he got other teams in a catch-22 situation, as it were. And you're going to get a lot more of these punts from me. And I mentioned he has all the shots. I'm sure you saw that absolutely sumptuous free, but the Bruggen with no chance.
No, I was just saying, I'm sure he learned to shake it off, Manny. Anyway, but yeah, of course. But I just thought.
And as far as he and Man City, they are never ever.
No, true. You have to wait while I try and remember some of Taylor Swift's songs, other songs. But yeah, there's quite a few. So yeah, anyway. I think he was. I think he was brilliant, and it was just, he was so great that it was just amazing when he missed the chances. He had, I think he had 2 or 3 more chances he actually missed as well. So you kind of thought, where is he going to score like 5 or 6 or 7 even? It was amazing performance, and. It was all obviously all in the first half, and that's what I was surprised about. They didn't get any more goals, or he didn't get any more in the second half. You still there?
Yeah, and that's the thing about certain. Hold on now. Once again, we're having problems, huh?
Yeah. I can hear you though, mate. It's all right. I can hear you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I agree. And that little bit you said there, obviously that's a sign of how good players are, but also they'll know that they should have taken a few more chances themselves and scored a few more themselves. And that's the real sign of greatness. Never be happy with doing just what you've done. Try and do more. But I see you've got that article there. You can just read it, and that'll give me some time to, get myself to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, sure, mate. Yeah. I'll get on with it now. Cole Palmer, all you need to know about Chelsea's superstar striker. Superstar striker Cole Palmer may only be 22 years old, but he's already breaking records in the Premier League. The talented youngster has had an incredible start to his Chelsea career since his move from Man City last September. Man City's lost, I would say. They're lost, to be honest. He scored 22 league goals in his first season at Stamford Bridge and has already netted 6 since August. Now Palmer has become the first footballer in Premier League history to score 4 goals in the first half of a game. Here are 5 more amazing facts and figures from his career so far. He supported Man United growing up. Well, there you go. Another team that missed out on him, Man United, didn't they, eh? Cole Palmer grew up in Wythenshawe in Manchester, and despite being a childhood Man United fan, he joined Man City's academy at under-8 level. Palmer then moved through the youth ranks at the club before captaining the under-18s during the 2019-20 season. He made his first team debut for City in September 2020. and scored his first goal for the club a year later. He was also part of the City squad that won the historic treble in 2023. However, a few months later, he signed for Chelsea in a £42.5 million deal after spending 13 years with the Premier League champions. Record-breaking first season at Chelsea. Cole Palmer burst onto the scene with an amazing debut season with Chelsea, quickly making himself a fan favourite. He scored 22 goals and provided 11 assists in 33 league games. That's more goal involvements than any other player in the Premier League. He made his England senior debut in November 2023 and he netted his first goal for the Three Lions against Bosnia-Herzegovina in the Euro 2024 warm-up friendly earlier this year. He is of Afro-Kittian heritage. Palmer has represented the Three Lions since under 16 level and he scored England's only goal in the Euro 2024 final this summer. But did you know he also holds another country close to his heart? Palmer's family on his dad's side come from the Caribbean island of St Kitts and Nevis. And that is why he's been spotted wearing boots with both the England and St Kitts and Nevis flags. Best young player of the year. All his hard work on the pitch meant the midfielder was named last season's best young player. He picked up the Premier League's Young Player of the Season award despite some tricky competition. Palmer beat Phil Foden, Erling Haaland, Kobbie Mainoo and Bukayo Saka to win the trophy. Last month, the Chelsea striker also scooped another top footballing award, the Men's PFA Young Player of the Year. He's a fan of chippy chips. Hey, all this goal scoring is hungry work, and it turns out that Palmer likes nothing more than a portion of chips from the chip shop. When asked by BBC Sport what his favourite post-match meal is, the Chelsea striker revealed he enjoys Chinese takeaway. His go-to order is salt and pepper chicken, rice, curry, sauce, noodles, and chippy chips. They have to be chippy chips, or you don't get them. He said. He added. Great article that. So he didn't know he's of Afro-Kittian heritage. That's how you say it. I don't know if you knew any of that, Manny.
Yeah, that's how you say it, like you spell it.
Yeah, Afro-Kittian. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, quite a lot of interesting facts there about.
Can you hear me, Steve?
Yeah. Can hear you, Manny. Yeah, can hear you. Yeah. Can you hear me all right? No, he's gone. Gone again. The man is gone. Anyway, we'll be back. He'll be back hopefully very soon, and we'll get on with talking about this brilliant player, this bloke, Ice Cold Palmer, as we all know him by now. Fantastic player. So, it's really good news for England. Really great news that he's doing well. Hold on a minute, guys. I've just got to go and just get something. I'm sure Manny will be back soon, but I've just got to go and quickly do something. I'll be back soon, guys. Okay. Sorry, guys. Back now. I had to take a quick call. Sorry about that. But I see Manny is back, so I'll bring him back in. Yep. I had to go then as well, mate. So don't worry. I've only just come back. So, anyway, this is all looking good for everyone, for England and Chelsea, that this man is performing. Can he keep it up, though?
First of all, what can I say? He's a northern boy, and he had me at chippy chips. And he's right. I mean, people talk about the famous McDonald's fries, which are quite thin and crispy. But, there's always something about those chippy chips where you get the thickness and also just as crisp. It's class. It really is. And, it will remain to be seen whether or not Chelsea can actually win something, because Chelsea do have some bigger fish to fry, obviously, in the league. And they are, of course, through quite safely to the next round of the FA Cup. And I don't know if I think they'll be facing Newcastle, who beat Wimbledon yesterday. I'm not too sure. But they're going to have to start looking at the Cups as a realistic way of winning a few trophies. And of course, as long as the other big clubs are involved in that, it's not going to be easy by any. And the thing about Palmer is that if he's able to play well from the start in international games, and the opposition won't be able to suss him out that easily. Look at me, I'm using the word suss. I don't know if I've ever used that before. If he's able to do well from the start, then he can provide Saka some competition. Both of them, do play better when they're in that same position as the right winger that cuts in with their left feet. And the very idea of trying to have Palmer and Saka in the same team will simply not work. It would be exactly like trying to make sure that Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard would play in the same team. We already had enough of those ridiculous struggles under Eriksson and Hodgson and so forth. And Capello also, don't forget that. So I'd like to see Palmer being used more as competition. And Saka will now have to make sure that he really steps up. And Chelsea should now look at the Conference League as a tournament they must try and win. And I see they've got Ghent coming up in that Conference League later on. In fact, that's going to be
tomorrow
on Thursday, the same day as the Champions League games, which is a bit of a surprise. And then, of course, they've got a home tie against Nottingham Forest. Former Chelsea star Callum Hudson coming back, and it was he who scored the winner in this corresponding fixture last season. So Chelsea have to start aiming higher, and under Maresca they can do that. And we'll see. The jury will be out, though, because we have to see how well they're going to perform against the likes of Liverpool, against Arsenal, obviously. They also have to play Aston Villa, which will be very, very, very tasty indeed. Villa took 4 points off them in the league, but Chelsea beat them in the FA Cup on a replay. And also Chelsea could very nearly beat Villa at Villa Park, of course, in the league. So that's going to be very interesting. So this season, Chelsea have to start making things count. And Palmer obviously will enjoy scoring plenty of goals, but he will want to start winning trophies, as will Bukayo Saka. I did mention, of course, with a Taylor Swift homage that he and City are never, ever, ever getting back together. But you never know. Maybe if he feels as though he needs to start winning trophies, maybe he do have a buyback clause to get him back. And then maybe they can say, you belong with me.
That's a big one there. Sunday, so the 10th, is that the 10th of November? It's November, 10th of November. Against the Arsenal there. That's a big one. So, if their form continues, do you think you're going to have be worried by Chelsea when you come to play them?
Well, here's the thing. In recent years, we haven't really had reason to be worried about Chelsea. Of course, last season, I do remember the corresponding fixture came over there. And, the track embarrass our goalkeeper, who used to be your goalkeeper, for Sanchez to have a nightmare of his own. And but for quite a long time, we've dispatched of Chelsea, and we haven't had cause to worry. Maybe Maresca will make the difference. I don't know. It will remain to be seen, because that's going to be sometime in November. There will be more games to be played by both, and we're going to have to see how well Chelsea do against some really big teams before we can judge them to be a threat or otherwise. But we're happy with the way we're going. We're third in the league behind both Liverpool and City. We have to make sure that we keep the momentum going and make sure that we're in now, having being top of the league and looking over our shoulder and not, being cognizant of the banana skin that's underneath right now. So it's up to Chelsea how well they do. I think the stock is going to continue to rise. And there could be a time when he might even supplant being more pivotal for England, but that will be maybe in a few years.
Yeah. So, do you think they got a chance of winning anything this season, Manny, Chelsea? With him there especially?
I did mention... Steve, that the cups are going to be key. League Cup, FA Cup, Conference League, they need to aim for those. And they should be able to win something, but if they don't, they'll have themselves to blame.
So maybe ideally they could win this Conference League, European Cup. I don't think it's as hard, that Conference League, is it, as some of them? Obviously, the Champions League is still the toughest, I would say. Europa League could be strong a bit at times, but I'm not sure about the conference as much. So maybe they have a real chance of winning that.
The thing is, though, once you get to the semi-final stage, it will be quite difficult. Leicester found that out, Aston Villa that out. And it's not really going to be a very easy tournament to win. Bear in mind, in the first instalment, there was no English team in the final. Then obviously Leicester reached the semi-final, West Ham won it, Aston Villa reached the semi-final. Maybe if you go by that pattern, Chelsea could win it this time around. I don't
know. Yeah. But going back to Parma, it's all looking... I think it's looking really good for England, because, if this guy can transform that form he's doing now to the England team... I know you said, he can't play with Saka there and all that, but you got to find a role for him there, surely. This guy's too good to be left out of the England team, surely.
I agree, mate. And that's one of the reasons why I say that, as with Ray Clements and Peter Shilton back in the day for the goalkeepers, and as with, many other players in different positions, it's always going to be good if you can give yourself that level of competition. And even in the defence, we have the likes of Rio Ferdinand, Sol Campbell, John Terry, and others competing for two places in the heart of that England defence. I still maintain that had it not been for his personal issues coming at a horrible time, Campbell would have gone on to, earn 100 caps for England and possibly become captain himself. Instead, we had to put up with that absolute, swine, John Terry. But you need competition for places, and that is why Parma and Saka competing against one another will probably bring the best in one another. But I want to see a situation where Parma is rewarded with starts and an opportunity to impress and prove his credentials. And if you end up doing well and being in possession of the jersey, then that should be the way it is. I think Parma's a little bit younger than Saka, maybe, or maybe they're the same age. I don't know. Maybe I think Saka might be a bit older. He's been around the block quite a bit. But that is probably where you can have him. Now, ideally, if we were playing in the 4-4. Ideally, if we were still playing in the 4-4-2 position, you could easily have Parma playing on the left wing. But now you've got the situation where you want to have your wingers coming in sort of coming in and then using their dominant feet while playing on the opposite wing, as it were. So you got Palmer and Saka in one position. There's going to be competition, and you cannot play two players in one position. So that is something that Lee Carsley or whoever is going to be the New England manager will have to figure out. Form should definitely be key. And this is where it will be very important, given the rest that he deserves, because he could very easily break down at any time. And that is something that Arteta just doesn't seem to realise.
Yeah, stupid. But then again, no manager seems to. Carsley, he wants to play him. So it's the same thing. It's the guy's got to have a break. He's got to have a rest. He's going to have burnout or anything. Oh, well, there we go. He's gone again. Anyway, we'll move on to the next one because obviously time's going and we've gone past, I think it's 2 o'clock. So I want to move on and obviously talk about our next subject, and which is in fact about Man United. We'll talk about them next. This one, Spurs destroy United at Old Trafford 3-0. United in disarray and struggling. Is Ten Hag officially a dead man walking? Is it totally all his fault? Should the players take some of the blame? Well, I'll bring the article up, and then obviously we discuss that with Manny, who's just come back as well. So I'll bring the page up, and then I'll bring Manny back in, and we'll talk about it. Be up to you again, Mr. T. You're back yet again.
Yes, Steve, if you can hear me, there seems to be a bit of a cue which tells me that I need to, leave the stream. It's as if at one particular point, if I realize that I can't hear you, it means that there's a problem with the connection and I have to keep going out and coming back in. And that's sort of, cue for me, and hopefully it'll lead to some continuity. So from now on, if you see me exit the stream and then come back in, that's when you know that there's a connection issue. But hopefully it's not causing too many problems. And I see you've got that article there, nothing to panic about Ten Hag. That is the one line managers will say right before they get sacked. It's typical manager speak when you're in trouble of when you're in danger of losing your job. And since you've got that article up, do please read it.
Yeah, okay, mate. Well, as I've already mentioned there, it seems like it could be a dead man walking. I'm surprised he is still there. What's happened? Losing to Spurs 3-0, and they look totally gone. They looked Spurs looked the better team. United looked devoid of ideas and whatever. But anyway, I'll read this article. And also, is it totally all his fault? Should the players take some of the blame as well when they cross that white line? But anyway, right. So Man United manager Erik Ten Hag insists he has nothing to panic about after a poor start to the season. A number of senior sources at United have told BBC Sport that it is business as usual as Ten Hag prepares for key games against Porto and Aston Villa. Despite Sunday's demoralising 3-0 loss against Spurs, leaving them in 13th, Ten Hag is confident the season can be a success. Nothing is easy, but this is nothing for me to panic about, Ten Hag told Sky Sports on Monday. We can sort the problems out. This team can sort this out. United have won just 3 of their 9 fixtures across all competitions this season, beating Fulham and Southampton in the league and League One Barnsley in the EFL Cup. Ten Hag led the Red Devils to a 3rd place in the Premier League during his main campaign in 22-23, while they also lifted the EFL Cup and were runners-up in the FA Cup. Last season, United ended the term 8th, their lowest ever Premier League finish, but signed off in style by beating Man City to win the FA Cup. The Dutchman was subsequently rewarded with a new contract which runs until 2026. Over the summer and last month, club chief executive Omar Barada said he had the club's full backing. We created a togetherness in the summer with the ownership and the leadership, Ten Hag said. We made this agreement and we were all behind it. We know the strategy is to bring in young players in a transition period. They also named May in all my last six seasons that there were always trophies, and that is what we are aiming for. During his time at Ajax, Ten Hag won 3 Eredivisie titles, 2 KNVB Cups, and 1 Johan Cruyff Shield. United face a trip to Porto in the Europa League on Thursday and travel to Villa in the Premier League on Sunday before the October international break, which would include Bruno Fernandes after getting his red card rescinded. Anyway, Manny, what do you make of all that? Hello?
Yep, had to mute my mic to hear your article. Didn't want there to be any kind of interference. And once again, Steve, it's the same sound bites. He's got our full backing. We don't need to worry. And, the only mitigating factor is it is, the beginning of the season. But that stat you've mentioned there, the 3 wins coming against Fulham, Southampton and Barnsley, it does not make for very good reading at all. And, we're going to get to your questions right now. And obviously, I think the best people to answer this would be some United fans. I know we have building. I don't know if it's still there. So
Rich,
we have to talk about the game first. And I know a lot of I know a lot of fans are going to talk about the Fernandes dismissal. And there was a part of me that felt that at the time, it was warranted. But I think after a review, people thought that there was a mitigating factor of him slipping. But whatever happens, you can't have your leg raised that high. No. And I believed at the time that it was the right thing to, punish him for that. Maybe it would have been, better to book him instead. But the way Spurs were dominating the game from the get-go, especially, Marcus Rashford is one of those players who has done well, but every now and then the idea that he's become a little bit lackadaisical with his attitude. He was supposed to sort of run and get the ball, but Van der Ven beat him to it. And Mickey was running the team around in circles. It was as if he was drawing the Venn diagram, as it were. Something for all you maths nerds out there. You'll remember that theories and Venn diagrams and so forth. Yeah. And, Spurs was just having a bit of a wait all the time. And
Van was just got a speeding ticket.
And Spurs...
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Spurs was just having a bit of a whale of the time, being the first to every ball and really playing really well. Maddison was enjoying a good spell. That that United just weren't able to get them.
Mr. Solanke scored again.
And although the second,
Mr. Solanke scored again.
Yeah, Solanke. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yes. He should start scoring more regularly, and I don't know if he'll do enough to make this squad for the break. But in future squads, if he starts to score more regularly, he has to be considered, because Harry Kane cannot go on forever. Kane will not be able to go on forever, and we've got Watkins and now Solanke. You cannot ignore these players in question. But Tottenham were playing so well. Such was the state of Tottenham's play in comparison to United's, that we couldn't even say that United would have fought back and won, even with 11 men on the pitch. And let's not forget, this is more or less almost the same 11 that lost 3-0 to a Bournemouth team, which had Dominic Solanke playing in that team. Yeah. So I don't know if it's fair to say that he is a dead man walking. Maybe he is. I think he's been given these upcoming games at Porto and Aston Villa to effectively save his job. But at any club, whenever it goes through a bad form, it is not totally all the manager's fault, and the players do have to take some of the blame. Ten Hag cannot be blamed when players do not show the desire to try to, get loose balls. And, obviously, in as much as we may despise Roy Keane as being a bit of a foul-mouthed, bitter, crusty old git, he does have a point when he says that players these days just don't have the design. He's been saying that for quite some time now in the Sky Sports studios. Got it. It's 2 years, man. I mean, if you did the same thing refusing to run, would we tell you off? Of course we tell you off. I'm sorry to all our Irish friends. I mean, I know that Keane comes from Cork in the south of Ireland. That was a pretty poor attempt to try to recreate that. I'm much more of the softer Dublin, style of that. What's the crack? What's the leading stuff? But Del Boy there. But but Roy Keane harps on this issue every single year, and the sad part is that Ten Hag, for all of his credentials, he hasn't been able to stop that kind of malaise coming in. And people are also going to start being a little bit smug and self-righteous and self-satisfied and saying that he deserves this the way he ostracized a certain Portuguese so-called goat, although to me he really is more of a donkey in some respects for his attitude. But, that bloke brought his own exit from Manchester United on himself. But, Ten Hag just doesn't really seem to be able to really impose himself. And he's won 2 trophies in his first 2 seasons. He's already bettered Mikel Arteta's legacy. Yes, I went there, Arteta inners. Come at me if you want. But I think we see a sort of an idea that the bad games are outnumbering the good games, and we're not really seeing very much from Manchester United in terms of the style of play. And so I do believe that winning trophies is important, but there also comes a time when you have to consider, is the club really moving forward in terms of, actual progression as a team? Is there really an identity of playing? Is there a style of playing? And, Ten Hag, I don't think he was able to necessarily impose that in his first season. I don't think he's quite been able to do that now. And it will remain to be seen whether or not a new manager can just come right in and really pick up that slack. And historically, United are always going to be one of the 3 biggest clubs in England, alongside Liverpool. And, you can take your pick as to who it should be in that space. Yeah. I'm not going to cause a controversy. So it will still be a historical draw. But United themselves have got a lot of problems off the field, which have to be solved, and they have to make sure they do that. They have to solve those problems too, because if you have a culture of unprofessionalism, it filters through to the players. The fish always drops from the head down. If there's bad management, it's going to affect the fortunes on the field, and that's what we're seeing with Manchester United. So definitely Ten Hag has to take some of the blame, but so do the players. And there was an interesting stat I mentioned in the group chat where, 7 of United's team were also in the Ajax team managed by Ten Hag that infamously lost to Tottenham Hotspur in the second leg of the Champions League semi-final in 2019 to go out 3-3 on aggregate on away goals rule. Lucas Moura etching his name into Tottenham folklore with that brilliant hat-trick against all odds. And why he would see it fit to try and bring so many players from that team into his own team, I do not quite know. I mean, I know they won a few Eredivisie titles and the other trophies you've mentioned, but you think of Onana, you think of Mazraoui, Zirkzee. I don't quite remember if Dallo was in there. Højlund might have been there, maybe, but it just doesn't seem to be working right. I think maybe there's a point where if a manager knows he doesn't have too long in the job, he may just be going through the motions. So it could be that he's a dead man walking. But the players also going to have to look inside themselves. And yet we see it every single time. Whenever a manager gets sacked, the players will say, it's our fault, we didn't do well for him. Or it's our fault. Before he gets sacked, they say it's our fault, we should do well. And yet on the field, they'll continue to throw him under the bus. A new manager comes in, results improve, everything's hunky-dory, and the same freaking cycle continues and continues. And the only reason why it's not continuing at Arsenal is because the board love Mikel Arteta so much. But I guarantee you, Steve, the longer we go without winning a trophy, the more and more and more the fangs are going to be, sharpened, and the teeth are going to be gritted and gnashed. It happened under Wenger, and it will happen under Arteta. But Ten Hag is in a world of trouble. Should he perhaps have walked away from Manchester United after winning the FA Cup? It's a thought. At least he would have left as a winner after all of the crap that happened. But hindsight's going to be 2020. And when he was offered that new contract after winning the FA Cup, it was as if he had, won the lottery, and maybe he didn't want to say no. But it's a gamble that's not proving profitable so far, I have to say.
No, totally agree, mate. Totally agree. Yeah, but I think the players are a lot to blame as well. You can only tell them to do so much and give them so much to do, tactics and this and that. And when they go out across that white line, they got to produce it. They got to follow it through. And you got some really good big players there, and they're not doing it. They're not doing it. And I'm not sure that's totally his fault. I mean, I know some players don't want to play for the manager. They have something against the manager, and they think, what they're doing here. They don't know what they're talking about, or they don't know what they're doing, why are they here. But then at the end of the day, they're paid to play, and they got to play for anyone. And you should be producing your best, even if it's somebody you don't like. Surely.
Agreed completely. We all have our share of horrible bosses. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I hope you have a good relationship with your boss or your leader. But you also know that if you don't do your job to the best of your satisfaction, you won't be given your pay packet every week.
Yeah. True. I could say he's a total something, but I'm not going to mention it on there. But yeah, I still have to work for him. So, and you know who you are, so I'm not going to mention it. But anyway, but yeah, you have to, you still have to do it because you get paid to do it, and that is it. And these lot of these players getting paid to a lot of money to kick a ball about, and they got to do it. And not also not moan about how many games they're playing and this and that, and wanting to go on strike, which is happening at the moment. It's all that rearing its ugly head again about how many games you're playing and this and that. So, what do you make of that, Manny?
Oh, mate, it's one controversy after another. We see more and more players doing their talking to the papers and not doing enough on the field. I really don't know how much more I can say about it. I mean, sometimes, when it comes to certain issues, players do have a point, but for the most part, some of their gripes are not really. What can I say? Some of their gripes are not really worthy of being spoken about that way.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of players coming out and talking, this certain player, Starboy, has come out and said, "Your player, this is year Arsenal will win the Premier League title," says Saka. Do you agree with that, Manny?
If he was saying this is the season we win the league, sort of like saying 'tis the season to be jolly, only for the usual doom and gloom to come in. No, I'm afraid I can't agree. But please read the article first, and then we'll dissect his points one by one.
Well, as I'll just read this banner out as well. Bukayo Saka has come out saying it's Arsenal's year to win it. After beating PSG 2-0 in the Champions League, should we agree? Do Arsenal have what it takes to finally get over the line, win a trophy? But anyway, I'm going to read this and we'll find out. Arsenal forward Bukayo Saka says, this is the year the Gunners will end their 21-year wait for a Premier League title. Mikel Arteta's side have finished second behind Man City for the past 2 seasons and have not lifted the trophy since Arsene Wenger's Invincibles side of 2003-2004. They are currently third in the table, level on points with second place City and a point behind leaders Liverpool after 6 games. I don't want to put too much pressure on us, but I do think that this is the year Arsenal will win the title, Saka told CBS Sports. I think we've been close the last 2 years and we're getting closer, but this hopefully will be the year. As well as finishing second in the Premier League, Saka was also part of the England team that lost back-to-back European Championships finals in 21 and 2024. The 23-year-old says that disappointment is fueling his determination to win trophies this campaign, with results such as Tuesday's 2-0 Champions League win against PSG, proof they can compete with the best teams. Previous years, I've come runners-up a lot. It's just that spirit in me that I want to win this season, and of course, I believe in myself a lot, he told Amazon Prime. With those 2 things, it helps. We believe in ourselves. We believe we're a top team. We showed that tonight against PSG. I did tell the boys we have to make a statement when big teams are coming to the Emirates. So, Manny, do you believe in that, what he's saying? You there, mate? You there, Manny? You there, mate? Hello? I think Manny might have been taken aback by it and didn't like what he heard there. What Saka was saying, he's gone again. So yeah, I hate these big statements that these players come out and say, "Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." Let your feet do the talking. Let your football do the talking on the pitch. Do not come out and make these statements, because you've got to back this up. If you're going to say, officially that we got a chance of winning it, you've got to back it up all the way. Don't come out and say this and then fucking bottle it again or something, you're the players. You and the other players have got to follow through. If you're going to say this seriously, officially, that you can win it, you got to back it up all the way. And I hope he can. He's saying all this. It's big words, but let's see this team do it. And past few seasons, they got to it, the crucial part, and not got over the line. They bottled it. And I hate saying that, but a lot of people hate it, and Arsenal fans hate it, I'm sure. But they're bottlers. They're bottlers, Manny.
Yeah, I heard that, Steve. I heard that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, mate. Yeah. I just read all that out. I think it's big words, but you got to back it up, haven't you?
As I was saying, absolutely. And, as I said before, the connection once again, mucked me up. He was captain last night, and yes, they played well. But we also have to put in back to the fact that the PSG team, quite frankly, a shadow of the team that that was dominant over the past few years. There's no Neymar, there's no Kylian Mbappe, and Enrique pretty much shot himself in the foot by leaving quite a few of his big name players out of the squad to travel to the Emirates, because that team looked so disjointed. It was scary. The big test will come when we play against the likes of Inter Milan and others. And as far as the Premiership is concerned, the way we conducted that second half against Leicester City, where we allowed them to recover from a 2-goal deficit to score 2 goals, one a deflection, the other one an absolute worldie from James Justin, which, as I said, reminded me a lot of Benjamin Pavard against Argentina in the 2018 World Cup. It's important now more than ever that we stay humble. We look inside ourselves and look to improve, and we do better. That's what champion teams do. That's what the likes of Man City do. They don't rest on their laurels and say, "Oh, the fact that we've been able to find in means that that's the stuff of champions." Stuff of champions, my foot. And I don't want to say anything more than that. We have the same thing when we beat the season prior to the previous one. We beat Bournemouth 3-2 at the Emirates after going down 2-0. We ended up drawing against Southampton and then, losing games we weren't supposed to lose. Then the previous season, after we took 4 points from Manchester City, we lost to Aston Villa, our ex-manager and ex-goalkeeper doing the double over us and mucking up our chances. It's a time when you have to stay humble. I would have had a lot more respect for Saka if he had said, "We're just going to focus on the next game and make sure that we continue to improve and do better, and don't make such outlandish statements." Now, I know what a lot of people are going to be thinking. If Emi Martinez last season could say, in response to whether or not he believed Aston Villa could even win the league, he said, "I'm a believer, mate." But when was the last time Aston Villa had actually won a very big competition? And of course, they are going to be facing Harry Kane and Eric Dyer of Bayern Munich at Villa Park tonight, and that's going to be a game I'll be looking forward to watching. It might, in all probability, be a bloodbath for the German team. They're going to score plenty of goals, but I do hope that Villa's boys can put up a good performance as a repeat of that wonderful final back at Rotterdam in 1982, back in the day. But Arsenal is different because we're expected to win the league, and we've been competing, supposedly. We've been making some great... we've been doing so well, taking the lead and having people fawn over us, but then we stumble at the very end. Is it a good thing that we're not top now? Maybe, maybe not. But there's also another idea that we've got some other teams who are breathing down our necks and making the competition even harder. If he had said we have to focus on ourselves and believe that we can, do better than we are doing now and be even better, then I would have had more respect for him for that, because you're only really as good as your next game, and that is the mentality that players have to have. It's as simple as that. So I think Saka's made a bit of a rod for his own back, and I did hear that Butler's comment you made when I came back in. People have a right to call us butlers. I know it's harsh, it's painful to hear, but we have to accept it. We still cling to that Invincibles triumph more than 20 years ago, like limpets. Yeah, we won a few FA Cups since then, but that really doesn't make us a really, really great team. It's whether or not you can win the big prizes and really step up and win the big prizes that really defines you as a team. And we might like to say that Aston Villa should not be considered in our league, but champions of Europe, they got to sing that, and they will sing that. Will we ever sing that?
Yeah. It remains to be seen, doesn't it? But yeah, I just think he's let his mouth run away from himself, and he's, let his overconfidence get the better of him, I think. And really, he should have known better. Somebody should have spoke to him and said, "Oh no, you shouldn't be saying all this," and to the press and whatever. Whoever handles him, his agent or whatever, should be saying, no, you shouldn't be saying this to the press. Because you got to do it. You got to back it up. You really should let your footballing do the talking, and not your mouth. And these things can come back to bite you. Seriously.
Absolutely.
And I rate the bloke. He's a great player, cracking player. He's going to get probably even better. He's still not his full potential, not his fully best player. Yeah, I think you reach your full potential probably late 20s, I'd say. 27, 28, something like that. 29 even. But, he's still not there yet. I don't think he's still got a long way to go, but he's quality, and that'd be the thing. That'd be the thing to say as well. Can you keep hold of him? That'd be the crucial thing. Will he leave? Will City get hold of him or something, or go abroad or whatever? Do you think you can keep hold of him, Manny?
Not if we continue to fail to win trophies. And that's the biggest fear. It's not just him. It could be the likes of William Saliba and even one or two other players in the Arsenal team who will end up deciding, that their future lies elsewhere. And I'm glad you asked that question, because this is really one of the reasons why sometimes I can't stand Arsenal supporters. It's like, we are among the worst in the league when it comes to treating old players who come back and play against us. And the way we still consider Robin van Persie to be nothing short of a Judas for wanting to move to Manchester United and give himself a chance of winning things, it's absolutely stupid. We have to ask ourselves, why were we not able to progress as a winning team? Why were we not able to build on that and do a lot more? It was why Van Persie left us, Fabregas left us, and several other people did. And, there's that we compare them to rats destroying a sinking ship. But, the ship was, starting to rot. It was almost sinking. We weren't winning as much as we wanted to win. We weren't winning what we believed we deserved to be winning. And sooner or later, players are going to get tired of that. And the likes of Saka and Saliba are no different. And mark my words, we were speaking about Cole Palmer earlier. Chelsea do have to start winning things while he's there. Otherwise, he might decide to, to heck with it. I don't want to continue to remain at the club. And so that's what could happen to Saka. And he has a big release clause in his huge deal. Any club that activates that release clause, if it's a club like a Real Madrid or another big club that will, guarantee him a chance of winning trophies, you better believe that he will look to activate that. And sooner or later, the club are gonna turn on him, like they turn on several other players. Van Persie, Fabregas, Adebayor. It's horrible. It really is. But what he's done now is put a little bit of pressure on himself and the team at a time when they probably don't need that, I think. And they need to focus more and more on doing as well as they can every single game they play from here on in. And that's sort of the way it kind of proves more than anything else. So it's just as well that we've got 3 good games coming up. We do have Southampton at home, Aaron Ramsdale coming back to his old stomping ground.
Should be interesting.
Hold on, please, mate.
You okay? Oh, he's gone again. Yeah, it's happening a lot, isn't it? But never mind. I'm sure he'll be back soon. He's getting obviously a lot of issues with his on his mobile, Mr. T. So I'm sure he'll get that sorted out and be back very soon. And obviously we'll move on. I'll take this banner down. And we'll move on to another subject, the last subject, obviously, that's kind of irked me and rattled me. Totally pissed me off, to be quite honest with you. And I want to hear Manny's version on it, what his opinion is. But obviously I'll bring this up, the banner up, and, you'll see for yourselves. 14th of September, Johan Visser, 22 seconds. You'll know what this is anyway, everyone. 14th of September, Johan Visser, 22 seconds versus Man City, 21st of September. Brian and Bomo, 23 seconds versus Spurs. 28th of September, and Bomo, 37 seconds versus West Ham. B set new record. Should we be impressed? 1 point to show for it all. 1 point in those 3 games. But hey, we set a record. Should we be impressed? I'm not. And I'm going to bring Manny in, and I want to get his opinion on this. Manny, fire away. I'm not happy with this. 1 point.
And
A new record, but I'm pissed off with it. 1 point in 3 games. Sorry, mate. Go
you
for it.
shouldn't be happy.
Annoyed.
That's all right. First of all, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Yeah. Sorry, I'm
Perfect.
going off.
And hopefully this will be
annoyed.
Yeah. So hopefully this will be the last topic. And before coming here, I'll just say that before coming, I'll just conclude my thoughts on Saka and say, put pressure on himself in a way. He's put pressure on the team in a way. And unless, they do well and back things up with trophies this season and the next, he might end up leaving. Saliba will end up leaving, and it's all going to go to pot. And it's just another reminder that stats without silverware are just stats. So just as we shouldn't be happy with all of these stats about how, we have the highest XG ratio, the lowest goals conceded, so forth, and have these meaningless stats against other teams, you definitely shouldn't be happy with this record of scoring in the first 60 seconds of the game for 3 consecutive Premier League games. Because 1 point from that, the only stat that matters is the number of goals scored after 90 minutes plus stoppages, not after 90 seconds.
Thank you, Manny.
You have a right.
That's what I want to hear. It's about getting 3 points. We didn't get them. I know it's Man City. I can accept that. Man City was always going to be tough. Erling Haaland showed up, got 2 goals. I can accept that. But what about Spurs? Why can we get over the line against Spurs? Because we actually conceded. We gave it away 3 times, the ball, and we conceded 3 times. Their goalie should have been sent off, and this and that. Why can't we get over the line against West Ham, a team we should be beating, who's struggling in the Premier? Why are we letting them back into it and getting a point? It's not good enough, Manny. Not good enough.
I agree. Absolutely. It isn't good enough. And you can, and I love how you instead of focusing too much on the dreadful decision not to send off Vicario for Spurs, you're also focusing a lot more on how Brentford were their own worst enemy at the Tottenham Stadium and also against West Ham at the G-Tech. And looking for excuses, do you no favours? So, I mean, you see a picture there of Thomas Frank, even he knows, he's smart enough to know that 1 point from those 3 games is really not good enough. And, what's the point of having that stat? Because I'll tell you what, stats like that are going to be forgotten. The only thing people remember is the points you earn and the trophies you win. And that is something that people need to understand and get into their thick heads. So it's ridiculous. But if you want to read the article, please go ahead.
Yeah, as I say, as you already mentioned, this is the last subject, Manny. And I'm totally rattled about it. It's irked me for ever since it's happened. And our supporters are celebrating a record where we've only got 1 point in getting it. So why are they settling for this? Why? I know we're a small club, Manny. I know we're not going to win much. But it's still not good enough. It's not good enough. What's the good achievement about it? You're here to pick up points. We're in the Premier. And we've been here for 4 seasons now. Why are we settling for this now, especially after last season, when we could have nearly gone down? Why is it happening again? And anyway, I'm just going to read this. Right. Turning up late, even by a minute, to see Brentford in the Premier League is not advised. The Bees have achieved a remarkable feat of scoring in the opening 40 seconds in each of their past 3 Premier League fixtures. It began on 14th of September against Man City when Johan Visser netted after 22 seconds. Brian Mboma has been responsible for keeping the trend going, scoring after 23 seconds against Tottenham and 37 seconds against West Ham. I can't tell you the secret, Brentford manager Thomas Frank said after the 1-1 draw against West Ham. Is it just the Premier League? There are lots of leagues. I need to know if it's a world record or not. Apparently it is. It must be a world record. 3 games in a row under 40 seconds. It's unbelievable. Frank, like the rest of us, was keen to learn whether Brentford's quickfire endeavours this month have set a world record. The answer is possibly, but neither we or BBC's data providers Opta can say for sure. What we are certain of, though, is Brentford are the first team in Premier League history to score in the opening minute in 3 consecutive games. The West London club are also the second in Premier League history to score a goal in the opening minute in 3 different matches in a single season, after Everton in 98-99. How Brentford scored their record-breaking goals? Well, I've already gone through it all anyway, so I'm not really going to carry on with that. But a kick-off strategy. So is it just luck? Or are Brentford putting extra effort into trying to make a quick start? Frank has suggested it is a bit of both. Of course, there is planning that goes into it, Frank said. We have a kick-off strategy and we tweak it from game to game. And as a mindset and philosophy, we like to get straight on the front foot and be positive. There are some margins going our way, of course, but I want to give credit to the coaching staff and the players. After pulling it off against Spurs and Man City, West Ham had braced themselves for an early assault on their goal from Brentford. We have to be embarrassed, West Ham midfielder Thomas Souček said. We saw how they scored those 2 goals against Spurs and Man City, and they did it against us. We all prepared very well for it, and we still conceded. Former Arsenal and England winger Theo Walcott, Manny, told BBC's
boy, again.
We talk about quick starts. It is like a rugby start. They commit numbers forward, and what is important is the second balls they pick up. They are committing defenders, putting the balls into areas. You can see the numbers moving up the field. But we're not winning, Theo. Picks up 1 point out of it all. It's not good enough. Sorry about it, guys. I've even made Manny leave now again. Just not happy with it, but I'll hopefully can get his opinion before he goes, because we've also got to go now and bounce in a little while, because I've also got another stream I want to go on, but I want to have something to eat, of course. But I'll get his opinion quickly when he comes back, and then that'll be it. So, and it is 1 hour 58 seconds now. So, sorry, 1 hour 58 minutes, I should say. So, it's been going on a long while, this stream. It's been great again. Really great to debate all this. A lot of big subjects we covered. So, but Manny's back, and I'll get his opinion quickly before we go. So what is your opinion on this, Manny? You there, mate?
I am indeed, and again, that cue happened suddenly. I couldn't hear you. I know that the connection would be poor, and obviously I didn't quite get to hear you read the entire article. But obviously, people talk about the the kickoff strategy and how you have a certain way of playing, and it does seem a little bit bizarre that people aren't willing to pick up on that. But we've seen goals being scored in the first minute of games very frequently. More often than not, it's an example of how certain teams just switch off, not quite switched on at that particular time. And Brentford deserve credit for that. But the only way that this will be significant is if there were a golden goal rule, which means that the first goal scored means that you automatically win. And had you been able to pick up 9 points in 3 games, including beating the defending champions at the Etihad, I'm sure you'd be grinning like a Cheshire cat. But Thomas Souček did say that there's an echo.
No, I'm not getting an echo here, mate. So it's only your end, I suppose.
Yeah. But anyway, Souček did say that it was something that they had to be really concerned about and ashamed of. They couldn't allow themselves to keep, to just switch off. But the biggest problem that Brentford have is that They just don't have the ability to maintain the concentration levels needed to see an entire game out. Because, as I've said before in the preamble to the article, as it were, a game lasts for 90 minutes, not 90 seconds. And so that really is the time when you have to, be stronger and actually back yourself up a little bit more and, improve yourself. And if you can't maintain focus, then you have to expect that you will be back. It's happened with Brent.
Yeah, that is the thing, Manny. And okay, yeah, you could say we've achieved the record. Okay, whoopity do. I want points. I want us to be up there and up in the top, top half nearly, like 10th or whatever, 12th even, or something like that. I don't want to see us struggling again. I don't want it like last season. We're getting the goals. Okay, it's Bomo. And I'm actually worried he's going to go, Manny. I think he could leave. And I thought, what have we got then if he goes as well? We lost Tony. Yeah, Tony was a bit of a wanker. Sorry, I had to say that. That's how I feel. With his ego and what he said and slagging us off and gambling and this and that. But he got us goals at the end of the day. He was scoring a lot of goals and he got us into the Premier. And if we lose Mbomo as well, I'm concerned, mate. I'm really concerned. Because I think this man is too good for us now, Mbomo, He's quality. And sooner or later he's going to think, well, we're not going to win. I'm here and I'm playing well. But we're not going to win nothing. I want to go. I'm going to walk. I'm going to leave. And then we're in shit street, mate. We'll have like Visser and this other new guy we bought who we're still waiting to play because he's injured. We need goal scorers. We haven't got squads like you got or City or whatever, Chelsea or this and that, other teams, Spurs or whatever. We haven't got that strength in depth. What are we going to do, man?
I think a big issue that you've got now really is the defence more than anything else, because the goal scorers, look at the defenders and the midfielders who aren't able to, prevent the ball from going into the back of the net. As far as Mbeumo is concerned, look, he signed for Brentford and he's now become a very firm fan favourite. It's one thing for him to say that he wants to leave and win trophies, but then how many clubs have actually come in for him? In all likelihood, it could be the likes of Marseille back in Ligue 1 who could come in for him, or another French club. And as a Cameroonian, obviously he's French, so he'd feel right at home.
Yeah. Yeah, Liverpool been interested apparently. I heard, showing interest. And I think even Spurs. Yeah, Spurs yet again, nicking our players. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen. But anyway, we got Wolves next, and we really need to beat them. The bottom of the table. If we can't beat them, I don't know what's going to happen. It's just, even if we score in the first minute yet again or whatever, a really early goal, we got to beat teams. We got to beat Wolves. They are bottom. We can't beat them. That is really bad.
Now really I can't hear you.
No, anyway, don't worry about Manny. I'm on a rant. But yeah, as I say, we're over 2 hours now, 5 minutes. So obviously got to go, and there's a stream. Obviously Manny's going on the stream, Eugene's stream, Spurs Asian TV, and hopefully I'll be on there. I might not be on from the start because obviously I want to probably get something to eat now. So, but I will join at some stage on there. Obviously Manny will come. We'll get him to shout out his socials if he does come back, and then we're going to bounce people. Obviously, plenty coming up. Got a cricket stream tomorrow. Hopefully, it will be happening. Probably around 1 or 2. Obviously, review about the England and Australia ODIs. Obviously, England losing that in the end 3-2 due to the bad weather yet again. And then, so obviously, we'll be talking about that. And the women's, obviously, the Women's World Cup cricket, that's coming up this month. So, and of course, England men against Pakistan men, that's Test series as well. So, plenty coming up. And I'll bring Manny back, and he'll have to shout his socials out. And sorry, mate, we moved on now. You have to shout your socials out because we've got to go, obviously. So, do you want to tell us where you can find you?
Okay, very briefly, let me just articulate myself and say that Brentford need to sort out their defence and their midfield. Don't worry too much about Mbuemo leaving. I'm sure things will work out near the end. They always do. And as your song says, take a sad song and make it better, Jude. Social. Manny Thangadara 1981 on Instagram. Thangadara 1981 on Twitter. Catch me on Mr. B Chatting the Cricket and also the Hive of Football Chat. Also, Del Boy Gunner TV, Coach's Corner, Oris Talks Football, up the cherries in all departments. Huddersfield Town, Southern Gooner, Gundown UK, Rich Sports, who was in the chat earlier. Big up to him and everyone else. Football United. And also Tony Claude Gunner TV, Danny AFC TV. I was briefly on his channel for the Arsenal game, which was good. But obviously, with my computer going through issues, I couldn't, join him for too long. And, there's several other channels that I don't have time to name at present because I've got, obviously, we've got a lot of stuff to do, but all very important to me. If they don't believe me, as usual, there'll be a check in the post. And there is, of course, a lot of good sporting action coming up. I hope you all enjoy it. But until then, have a good rest of your week. Take care of yourselves. Be safe and be happy. Don't do anything that Mr. B or I wouldn't do. But until then, farewell. See you all soon. And we both got stuff to do. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers for coming on again, Manny. And I'm sure I'll see you on Eugene's stream very soon. I won't be on from the start, by the way, because I've got to get something to eat. So, anyway. He's gone. And cheers again. Cheers, buddy. Coming on yet again. And obviously, I'll be going, as I said, I've got obviously the cricket stream tomorrow. Got the I'll be going on Norris stream probably Friday as well, which is preview for the next games, the Premiership games stream. And I've obviously got a preview for the Wolves game, which will be Saturday. One we hopefully should win against the bottom place team in the Premier, you would think. But will it happen? I don't know. Hopefully. But anyway, I'll be doing that. And follow me on there, Mr. B for Life 182, and subscribe to Mr. B Hive Football Chat. And Mr. B Chats England Cricket. So, please sub and smash the likes. Obviously, you're watching live or on playback. Please do all that. And obviously, people in the live chat that want to thank Eugene. Hopefully, I'll be on there fairly soon. Obviously, got to get something to eat first, though. Daz Reynolds, thanks for coming in, mate. And United TV, Rich there, go and follow his channel. And, of course, Eugene's, of course, Spurs Asian TV. Please follow both of them, United TV and his. But for the moment, guys, I'm going to bounce. Cheers, guys. Thanks, everyone. Bye.